Welcome to the Fit Rich Life podcast, a show where we talk about entrepreneurship, health and fitness, money, and designing a life you absolutely love. A big part of living a life you love is living your purpose, and that's what this episode is all about. In today's special guest episode, I get to interview Amanda Sevilla. Amanda Sevilla is a transformation and purpose coach, a leader, a healer, a well-being content creator, and much more. She is truly a multifaceted individual that is committed to helping others flourish with purpose. In this episode, here are some things you will learn about. 1, going against what your parents and society are telling you to do and doing what you really want to do. 2, finding and living your purpose. 3, listening to your body and the cues it will give you when you're not in alignment with your purpose. 4, the power of coaching, and a whole lot more. This is a great show for anyone interested in living with more purpose. The insight and wisdom Amanda shares will empower you on your own life journey. Please enjoy a wide-ranging conversation with Amanda Sevilla. Amanda Sevilla, so good to have you on the show.
It is so good to be here. I'm feeling fit, I'm feeling rich, and I'm feeling like I'm living life.
Amen. Amen to that. So super quick introduction. Amanda Sevilla is a transformation and purpose coach. She's a leader, a healer, a content creator. She wears many hats. She's very multifaceted. And where I want to kick this off just to really draw people in is with Amanda's pole dancing endeavors. So tell us about how you got into pole dancing.
I want to start this story with sharing a little bit of the scene and also by letting you all know that I'm not a professional pole dancer. I actually picked it up as a very short-term hobby, which we will get into. This is not about pole dancing. This is about just giving yourself the freedom to express and finding joy from that. And I am a first-generation Filipino-American. My parents immigrated here in their early 20s. I remember very distinctly on my 23rd birthday, I was living with my parents. I did a little bit of in and out with my parents just because they're those kinds of parents who allowed and really just wanted me to be with them as long as possible. And on my 23rd birthday, my dad walked downstairs. I was getting ready for work. I was working as a dietitian in a hospital, and he was like, when your mom was 23, she was pregnant with your brother, who was the oldest sibling, and we were coming to America from the Philippines. And I was like, wow, and I am mooching off of my parents right now, and I'm going to a job. They just helped me get everything, and I'm at the same age. So, Filipino-American, my parents are, they're the type who raised us going to church every Sunday, very tight community, very conservative, very, a little bit interested in what's going on in my life, but mostly don't really understand what it is that I'm into or what it is that I'm helping people do nowadays. And that's okay. I've done a lot of work outside of living with my parents and with therapists, coaches, deep dive, self-inquiry, really understanding myself and how maybe I'm just expecting a lot from them. Maybe I'm just projecting a lot onto them. And I came to this understanding that if I was going to be in peace with them, the main source of my conditioning and my triggers as a child, I'm going to learn how to just be with them as adults. And so over a year and a half now, almost 2 years ago, my husband and I decided that we would move in with my parents for about the first year of our marriage to kind of recover from expenses, save up for bigger investments. And also, what I didn't realize at the time was our decision was for us to be able to spend more time with them because, I'm a big advocate now since I've gone through that experience. If we do live close to our family unit and it's not toxic or abusive or harmful in any way, right? There may be just some kinks here and there within the relationship. It's so important to be able to spend that time with the people who are part of your actual physical tribe. And so we had that opportunity. We wanted to save money, but I realized it was a very healing experience for me to be an adult and not expect anything from them, and for them to be adults and not expect anything from us other than to, pay for some things here and there in exchange for us living at their home. And so in this particular year, I had gone into a deep dive in my own authenticity, my own voice, continued evolution, leaning into what I'm excited about, leaning into what I'm interested in, testing things out, not limiting myself because, oh, I'm not good at that, so I'm not going to try or I'm not going to do it. I just allowed myself, and I'm still allowing myself, to be a beginner at all the things that are interesting to me. One of those things was pole dancing. I have a background in yoga, endurance sports, weightlifting, and pole dancing just seemed like a nice combination of all of them. And I got sucked into the rabbit hole of pole dancing, TikTok, and Instagram. And it's beautiful. And I was like, let me just try it. Let me just see. Some of my best friends, they do pole dancing. They've always invited me to go to classes with them. So at first I used to go to studios near me, but the closest ones that were good were around 20 to 30 minutes away. And it's not a long time. But in the same season that I'm building my business, I just wanted things to be efficient. And I was thinking an hour of driving a weekday night is an hour that I could do yoga at home. Like, it just doesn't make sense. I would like to be at home. I'm a homebody. I like to do all the things at home or like 5 minutes away from home. So eventually I just decided, I'm going to buy one of those poles that you can set up outside. I couldn't set one up in my parents' home because I didn't want to do that to their ceiling, and I didn't want them to walk into a room. Imagine, like, Filipino parents coming into a room like, okay, why is there a pole from the ceiling to the floor of my house? So the kind that I got was just outside. I would put it on the deck, and I would just spin around. I'd follow some YouTube classes or what I've learned in real life classes. And I knew that my parents knew there was something going on upstairs on the deck, but we never had a conversation about it. So it had been months passing by. And one day I was in the kitchen with my mom, and I had just finished a session of spinning on the pole, feeling very tired because it is basically vertical gymnastics. Did not feel sexy at all. She looked at me and she was like, next time you go upstairs to do your sexy dance, can you just water my plants? And I looked at her and I just bursted out laughing, and she was laughing. She was kind of confused. And the thought that I had was, this is so funny. She has no idea how to approach this. She's just trying to let me do me and not criticize me or not judge me or anything, and saying it in the nicest way possible. And in her mind, she considers it like this sexy dance thing. And if that were me maybe 5 years prior to that, before I had done work on understanding myself and letting everybody just do their own thing and grow in the speed and direction and depth that they need to in their journey, if this had happened to me 5 years ago, I wouldn't understand. I'd be upset that she didn't understand. I'd be like, well, no, the story is actually this. I need you to see it as this and not just this funny, like sexy thing that I'm doing. It's a combination of strength and stamina and flexibility, and requires coordination and core power. Like, I feel like I would have needed to justify every little piece for her to see it exactly how I saw it, and I would take it so seriously. Whereas now I don't even care. I don't care if she talks about it with my sisters or my brother or my cousins or my aunts. Like, I don't care if anybody else knows. I was already posting it on social media, so thousands of people have already known that. And it was very striking to me, because if I didn't do that inner work and if I didn't give myself the permission to just do what I wanted, who cares what people think? I might have a reaction to their reaction, but at least I'm giving myself the space to be creative in my expression and to be free and to choose what I want and to have fun, no matter how long or short that stint was. Now that I've been able to identify that and embody that and really do that, I can have joyful moments like this with my mom. I can have joyful moments with this, or like this, with my dad or anybody else who I would have otherwise had different expectations of. So, again, not a story specifically about pole dancing, more so a story in just allowing yourself to enjoy what you want to enjoy, because it gives you a door to enjoy other people in your life and not be upset with them or resent them or, anything like that.
Yeah. So we're going to dive deep into purpose in this particular podcast. And I think this is a really fun story for us to start to dive into that, because I know in my own journey with kind of finding the type of work that really made me feel alive, um, a big part of it was kind of going against the grain of like what my parents thought I should be doing. And even though my parents, like for the record, have always wanted me to do whatever I want, but still, because of the way they were raised and the generation that they were raised within, there was like kind of this like subtle pressure to do like the safer thing, the more traditional thing, the more secure thing. um, and I know in your own journey, Amanda, you kind of had a similar situation where you were kind of going down one route that was much more kind of traditional, approved by your parents and, family. And I'm just wondering if you can kind of share that process and that journey of kind of starting to go down the path that you felt like you should go down, but maybe it wasn't completely aligned with what your heart was whispering to you to do instead.
So we're going to tell the story. I will start by sharing that I believe, looking at all the different chapters in my life, my purpose is to empower other people to take back sovereignty, um, their own rulership and leadership of their lives and what they want to create. Simply because there are so many ways that we can do this, and there's so many ways that I've seen myself do this through different modalities. And the first modality that I had intended to do this through was through the path of conventional medicine. So, MD, medical doctor, doctor of osteopathic medicine in the United States. Both of those are they're licensed physicians, practitioners, and that was a result of an early influence from my parents. Surprise, surprise. My dad he works as a pharmaceutical representative. And Dad, if you're listening to this, I forgot what you wanted me to call it. I know there's a different name now that is better and not as frowned upon, but that is his work. The big pharmaceutical companies, he's a salesman at heart. He knows how to connect with people, and he connected with a lot of doctors. And those doctors ended up becoming his friends. And in this friend group, they started a medical mission group where we would every first Saturday of the month, and I'm saying we because my dad took me along with him as a child, like single digits into like my preteen years. And we would go to Mexico. We live in Southern California, so it's not a far drive, to donate medicine, vitamins, food, clothes, and just do a free clinic. And my dad would take me with him for reasons that I now understood, but previously I was so upset that I had to go and spend my Saturday over there. But the more Saturdays that I spent there, where I wasn't really doing that much, I was kind of helping out with the donations and helping out with organizing things, or like doing some cleanup or moving the line along. But I realized that was a very important thing for me to go through, because I got to witness firsthand the only difference between the hundreds of people who couldn't afford this health care, and they waited every single month and they lined up for hours. They would come sometimes at the crack of dawn, and they would wait for 3, 4, 5 hours in line just to get a free medical checkup and maybe some painkillers and some advice. The only difference between them and us is that we were born into a different life. We're born in a different state. We have a specific set of skills and education, and it's the chance, but it's also, if they had the training, if they had the education, if they had the knowledge that a physician has, then they would also be able to do the same thing. And so I've always had this idea that nobody is actually better than the other person. We just all have different skills and things that we can share with each other. And that's what makes this society work so well, right? Like, there are people who need coaches, and then there are people who need to be coaching because that's just how we are. There are people who need shoes, and then there are people who know how and very skilled at making shoes. So we just match each other's needs. And so for this too, we all have different expertises and different ways to help each other heal, just with different expertises. So from there, I was very inspired. I was like, wow, I really want to help people. I think that's what we all want to do when we're asked, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? Astronaut, lawyer, doctor, whatever. It's always to help people. Even as an astronaut or a rocket scientist, you're definitely helping people by helping advance the science or the knowledge of what we know about our lives, right? So I wanted to help people. And I was like, well, I was exposed to this, so this makes the most sense. And I'm fairly good at school, and everybody always tells me that it's really hard to be a doctor and medical school is really hard. And I can do this. So I'm just going to keep going. And it's just this constant positive feedback that I held throughout middle school, well, elementary school first, middle school, high school. In high school, I did all the volunteer hours. I took all the classes, um, did so many extracurriculars because I was like, I'm going to go to medical school. There was no second thought about it. And that's the usual case for many of us who are molded as soon as we could think for ourselves, which isn't a bad thing. It's just the world that we live in, and that's okay. And I got into a school, it was actually an accelerated like physician program. So I could have been a physician in 7 years if I just continued on. But little by little, there were different moments where I was like, is this really, do I want to do 7 years straight intensely and become a doctor at like, what, like 25, like a licensed practicing doctor? Do I want to do that, or do I want to slow it down? And I opted out of that 7 year program, and I wanted to just do like a regular 4 and 4, maybe a gap year in between so that I could take my time and learn more. And I got into learning about nutrition. Just as a side note, this can also be a rabbit hole for later, but I'm vegan. I've been vegan for over 9 years now. And I found the vegan lifestyle in my first year of undergrad, and it was appalling to me that I never learned that nutrition could be this powerful. I was going in to train to become a physician to help people like my uncles and like my aunts and like my grandparents who had heart disease, diabetes, kidney disease, strokes, hypertension, you name it, all the chronic diseases that can be significantly improved with a more wholesome and colorful and fiberful diet pattern. I wanted to become a physician to help these people who had these chronic diseases, and very rarely in the curriculum would nutrition come up. And I asked so many of the students who were in the medical schools. I went to school in Boston, so there were a lot of medical schools around, and also teachers. And I wanted to learn more about the different curriculums in different med schools. And when I learned about veganism, I was like, wait, where do we learn about nutrition? And barely, like 1 or 2 classes. I think someone told me like the standard is 21 hours. And I did a deep dive, and I was like, well, if I'm going to do the traditional 4 years of undergrad and 4 years of medical school, I want to learn more about nutrition. And I specifically want to make sure that veganism is actually healthy. Around that time, it was like 2015, 2014, 2015. Veganism wasn't as popular as it is now. And like, even still, it's not super, super popular, but it's on the rise way more than it was, almost 9, 10 years ago. So I really wanted to learn about nutrition and do a deep dive on that. I got homesick, but I transferred to Loma Linda University to be closer to my family, and also because I wanted to learn more about nutrition. And from there, I graduated. I got my registered dietitian license, which is, it's just a longer story, but I didn't mean to be a registered dietitian. It's just that the program that I was in happened to give you everything you already needed to just take the tests and have the license. So I was like, okay, I'll just do it. And this is a great way for me to get experience in the hospital so I can still have more rapport and go into med school. Like that was always the ultimate dream, even though I had a few side moments. And I was working as a clinical dietitian. I was taking my prerequisites. I was studying for taking the medical college admissions test. I was doing internships and a lot of volunteer work with some colleagues that I have met through the internet, amazing, through Instagram, who were doctors and who needed a little bit more volunteer work. And I needed some more experience working under them directly. And them combined with other doctors in the hospital, combined with my new budding but very serious relationship with my now husband, started to create a lot of inner turmoil for me, because I'd never really seen myself as a wife. I'd never seen myself as like a mother. I wanted to do medical missions like the ones that I'd seen growing up. I wanted to do some like Doctors Without Borders stuff in all different types of countries. And then I met this man and I was like, oh, I really want to have a life with you. You are my absolute best friend. And I think I care about this more than like the fame and the glory and the cool like reputation and stuff like that. I think I would just want to enjoy my life with you, but things aren't adding up. If I go down this road of medicine to help people in the way that I think that I can help them, I'm not going to be able to spend as much time with you. I definitely want kids. I've interviewed so many people they're my friends who have parents who are physicians, and they didn't really get to see their parents a lot, or it was just they realized it was a juggle for their parents. And I was like, I don't really think I want that kind of life. And I noticed that there were hospitalists who spent so much time in the hospital, more than even being at home. And the way that they loved and cared about the practice of medicine was not the way that I loved and cared about the practice of medicine. I just wanted to help people. I wanted to empower them. For example, through nutrition, you can do so much for your body with the stuff that you already do. You just have to change around some patterns. You just have to add some more broccoli, or maybe lower the amount of salt that you have, but you're already in the kitchen. You're already eating food. It's not a big leap for you, right? And I felt like if I don't go down the medical path, then what am I going to do? Another thing I didn't mention in this story, because there's so many parts to it, is a big pressure was Instagram, was social media, was YouTube, because I had painted myself to be this person who was going through all these things and like, I'm going to go to medical school next. And I was going through this crossroads moment where it doesn't feel aligned for me anymore. I don't want to spend those hours. I actually don't care about pharmacology, because I knew I would learn all these things and then just talk about the holistic lifestyle aspect anyway. I wanted to share more information. I know you and I are both vegan, but like I wanted to share more information on how somebody could fish instead of just give them the fish. I wanted to teach them. And I still do feel like I do that today, because I've understand and I've identified what this purpose is for myself. So I was nervous about that. I was nervous about what other people think. And that's the bottom line. Most importantly, I was very nervous about what my parents would think, because I was already getting to this point. It's like, I don't think I want to take the MCAT anymore. I don't want to keep studying for this. I've been diving deep into other things that I was excited about, and I noticed that I was just distracting myself from not moving forward in this path that I have paved already. And my parents were so supportive of me going into the medicine route. My dad has a lot of doctor friends. He'd be like, oh, talk to this person and that person. They'll mentor you. They'll help you. When you finish med school, you already have jobs in any hospital that you want. Like, he was setting all of those up for me. My uncle is a physician. There's just a lot of familial support. And just like you, my parents have also given me this feeling of, do as well as you possibly can in school, do what you want, but it would be so awesome. We would be so proud of you if you were a physician. You'd be the first doctor in the family. So it's not like they were saying you have to do this or we will hate you. But they highlighted it with so much joy, because they were very excited, that I felt if I did anything else, they wouldn't be happy with me. So ultimately, I kept pushing down an idea that there's an alternative, and I just kept telling myself, maybe I'll just keep going on this path. I know I'm already intuitively feeling like this isn't going to be that fun for me, but I'm here. There's so many people backing me up. I have so many people ready to write me letters of recommendation and help me move through the process. And I started getting a lot of IBS symptoms, and eating food was so uncomfortable. And I started getting really bad eczema. So my ancestors are from the tropics, and I live in California right now. So naturally, there's not as much humidity in the air as my ancestors are used to, but I've never had eczema like this. I've had eczema in my elbow, sometimes like on my leg, sometimes on a small patch on my neck, but never all over my face, in random patches on my body. And I was upset, not because of how it looked, but because I know just from learning about yoga, learning about the nervous system, I knew that there was something very psychosomatic here. And another frustration I had was if I go to a doctor, which I did, a medical doctor under my insurance, to see what's going on, most likely they will say everything on paper looks fine. All the tests came out negative. Maybe everything is okay. Like I had a very strong feeling that was going to happen, and it could be because I was expecting that happened. But I went in, didn't really get help, and intuitively I knew, okay, maybe you should reach out to a holistic practitioner. So I reached out to an Ayurvedic practitioner, and we did a full session, and all the recommendations she gave me helped, not immediately because it's a lifestyle switch, but helped so much. And I was just thinking, if I'm getting help that's so effective and so individualized from a system of medicine that I really believe in, that I'm not even studying right now, that is kind of to some people in opposition to what I'm going down, like something here doesn't make sense, something here feels out of alignment. So to keep this chunk a little concise, I did a lot of inner work. I faced a lot of fears that I had a lot of tears, headaches, conflict, interesting conversations. And eventually I had a sit down talk with my dad in a restaurant to tell him, go, let's get lunch. And then immediately I just dove into like, I'm not going into medical school anymore. And he just could not understand. He like couldn't wrap his head around, why don't you want to do it? Oh, okay. You want to have kids? We'll take care of your kids. You can go to medical school. Like, we're here for you. Oh, like you're worried about the money? Don't worry about the money. I invested in this, and this. Like, we can help you out. Like, he, as a salesman who's been doing it for decades, went through every single objection I had. And still, I was like, but you don't understand still. I just don't want to do this anymore. And some parts of that conversation hurt my feelings a bit because I felt misunderstood. There was an insinuation that I would be wasting my potential and, not many people can do this and you could totally do it. And he was sharing with me the light and potential that he saw within me that I was maybe putting down the drain because I wanted to learn about herbs and and qualities of foods and the different elements in nature. Like, that's what I wanted to learn about. We didn't come to an agreement. It felt very jagged at the end of the conversation, and I drove home in tears still. And yet that was one of the most enlightening moments of my life, because the contrast of being in tears, being unhappy because he didn't understand me, was actually a very clear message that I was actually so strong in this pivot, in this switch, that I let myself have those tears in those moments, but I didn't actually break down. And I decided to just scrap the whole medical system in general. I had lots of conversations with people that I was interning, volunteering for, and I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. I decided to do what I wanted to do anyway. I learned Ayurveda. I went into an Ayurveda school, and along the way, learn about the different skills that I had, and I started to pick up on clues like, oh, I'm kind of doing the same thing, just in a different world, in a different realm. And when I was in nutrition, I was doing a very similar thing. And when I wanted to go in medicine, I really wanted to do a similar thing. And that was what I said at the beginning, which is, I just want to learn ways where people can really empower themselves. So if that means physically finding relief, finding relief is on the path to healing, but sometimes it's really, it can be intimidating to think, oh, I'm on this healing journey, right? But if we just put one step in front of the other, we're just constantly looking for relief. I wanted to empower people with tools to do that through their body, through different resources. And eventually I got into the coaching world, learning about purpose as I was starting to put together everything that I'm doing right now is still in alignment with my purpose, even though it looks different. Even though it's not what I had intended it to be, it actually is more in alignment, because part of your purpose is being excited about the present moment and the present day. Your purpose leads you to where you will most enjoy, because where you will most enjoy is where you will put the purest, most potent, most powerful energy into it. And other people around you or who receive your work get to receive all of that incredible energy. And your purpose will always lead you to things that you will love and that will be exciting for you, that will prepare you for the next step and the next step. And it's always going to be what I've found is, I mean, many people say, your purpose changes over time, which I agree with to some degree. But on the other hand, I find that, it's more so the way you are living it out looks different. But there's really a common thread everywhere in your entire life, from your friends to your family to your hobbies to your interests to your career to your extracurriculars. There's a common thread in how you show up and what you share in each of those categories in life. And that to me is purpose. And anytime I've ever felt lost or ever felt like I've doubted myself, since that moment, I just have remembered, okay, this is just what my purpose is leading me to. I'm excited about it. And it's even better when I can't explain why I'm excited. I can't explain logically, oh, for reasons XYZ, this makes the most sense. When it doesn't make sense, but I'm so excited about it and it feels good on every level for me internally, then that's where I'm meant to go. It's been a big lesson in trusting my intuition and also trusting the gifts that I have. The more that I do that and the more that I lean into that to lead me into the next spot, I'm always in the right place, always. And I'm still using that today. I'm constantly trying out new things and evolving, just like that small story with pole dancing, trying out new things, but even bigger versions of that, different trainings, different nooks and crannies and explorations of different topics. And I know I have a lot of life to live, so I'm very excited with the fact that I understand now what this purpose is and that it can take me in so many places and I can still help other people along the way, even if I haven't gotten to that end point.
Yeah. So a couple follow-up questions here. Um, the first thing I want to talk about is how our body kind of talks to us when we're maybe not quite on the right path. And then I want to like lead into like, how does somebody actually start to find their purpose or cultivate or develop it? But I feel like, especially as we get older, our body gets louder and louder
Mm,
about us not being in alignment with our true purpose or our dharma. And I've experienced this myself. You've obviously experienced this, with your eczema and IBS. And so I want to hear kind of Amanda's words about that experience, as well as like, how that can, potentially be a teacher or a way shower for us.
absolutely. Our bodies are so intelligent, so a part of nature, and we forget that our bodies are really a way for us to learn more about the present moment, because our minds, as you are listening to this right now, as you're processing what I'm saying, your mind is in a very different realm than your body, unless you are feeling very integrated and grounded in this moment. But most people, if you're listening to a podcast, I do this as well. I'm multitasking. I'm on a walk, I'm in the car, I'm doing different things. And I'm just like, here's something for my mind to work off of and to play with while I'm physically doing another thing. And so our bodies are the tool. They're like literally the doorway for us to be in this present moment, for our mind to be in the present moment. And an easy way for you to recognize this is through your emotions. People think that your emotions are your mental, but your emotions are actually very physical. You feel your emotion as nerve impulses in your brain. And sometimes, if that emotion is strong, you feel like you are having butterflies because you're shy and you're next to your crush. You feel like you're nervous, you're about to go do a workshop on something that you've been learning about, but you're looking at a lot of people, they paid to be here, your hands are sweating, your heart is racing. This is a very physical thing. So Our bodies are doorways to tell us, okay, what is going on? And our bodies can actually tell us in the present moment what your mind is going through and the kind of, manifestation that this kind of mess can be creating. So in Ayurveda is a strong, I would say, proponent of the mind and the body connection. So they say that negative emotions, we'll put negative in air quotes, right? Because all emotions they're just emotions, they're not good or bad. But the ones that don't resonate with us, the ones that feel like we want to avoid them or we don't want to be experiencing them, a lot of those stuck in the body causes blockages and then creates physical manifestations. And then on the other hand, physical imbalances can cause mental manifestations with our frustration. So it's a feedback loop. For me, I was suppressing a lot. I was suppressing, oh, well, maybe there's this path that's actually a lot easier for me. I had the story that things had to be hard and challenging in order for them to be worth it. I have to go to med school. Otherwise, it's like my brain is not going to be valuable. I had that story. I had to do something very difficult. People wouldn't, see me in a specific way. I had to earn my right. And so I suppressed and it's a good feeling, but it isn't good to know when I'm already going down a specific path, but I suppress the idea that, oh, maybe life doesn't have to be that hard. Maybe things can be easier. Maybe you could just enjoy what you want to enjoy sooner with the things that you're actually excited about. So I thought, that's not a good thing. I'm going to put that away. And I'm just going to keep stressing out the way that I normally do and forget that maybe there's an easier solution that my intuition is guiding me to, because it requires a little bit more opening up and doing the hard things. Um, so I suppressed it and suppressed it. And I want you to imagine taking a marble that, it will break down in your body, but your body can't really process it, nor can it poop it out. Like, I want you to imagine taking a marble, eating it, it's being broken down into your body, right? And your body can't get rid of it. I guess that's the mechanism that I'm just sharing here as an example. Say your body can't break it down. So your body puts it into different like storages. And this is all energetic. This is all hypothetical, but I want to give you all a visualization. Our body is breaking down all the broken up marble bits and hiding it in places. Well, soon your body's going to have to continue regenerating cells, regenerating itself, filtering out other things. And if you're bringing in more marbles like that, oh, well, like, it's like swallowing gum or like swallowing a marble, we'll say. I'm just going to keep swallowing these. I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm going to ignore it. And I'm actually not going to stop eating the marbles either because I can't stop for whatever reason. Eventually, your body is going to show you have some stuff here. We can't do anything more. We tried our best. We tried to hide it. We tried to go along with your plan, but I'm sorry, we can't hide it anymore. So here it is, rashes on your skin. Here it is, pain after you're eating, a lot of gas and bloating, just discomfort. The way I visualize my body is it is a faithful follower, but it does what it knows it needs to do as it's been shaped by many, many generations, many years of evolution. It has its own programming, and I can't keep suppressing all of these thoughts. I can't keep hiding all these marbles in here. I have to eventually face them. I have to eventually work on them. So it shows up different for everyone. I think the reason it showed up for me as digestion and as skin is because these are the two things that I care a lot about within my body. I understand as a dietitian how important a healthy digestive system is. And I also really know that when things are stuck in there, I don't feel my best. And I've always really cared for my skin. I've always loved a good skincare. I grew up with two older sisters and a mom who loved beauty and skincare. And as soon as things started looking different on my face, like, it's as if my body knew, oh, she'll react to this. She'll do something about this. She'll maybe listen to us if we do this time. So that is how I kind of understood there was a link there, because I didn't start developing those symptoms until I started feeling the dis-ease in my body. And it takes a level of awareness. It takes the understanding and patience for a person to sit down and be like, okay, how could I have been contributing to this? Most of us don't do that unless we've learned it, we've practiced it. But I have done a lot of therapy and self inquiry at that time. So I had to sit down and ask myself, as a future health practitioner, this is what I would do with my clients, my patients. And also as a dietitian, this is what I would do as well. Just when did this start? What did you change? What was different? And it was hard for me to turn away from. And I told this part of the story already, but as soon as I figured out, okay, maybe it's like something emotional, I couldn't go to a conventional doctor and get the answers that I wanted. I had to go to a practitioner that could give me more root cause information on this. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I just was looking for confirmation about my emotions affecting what was going on within my physical body. And I mean, you probably already know this, but it would be hard to find, not impossible, because there are great physicians out there now who are doing a lot of integrative work. But under my insurance, in my location, it wouldn't have been as easy to find.
Yeah. It's crazy to me. It's crazy and it's not crazy that our body can talk to us both through the mental, emotional consumption, through like the thoughts we're thinking, the life that we're living, the lifestyle that we're living. And that can literally cause like illness or dis-ease in one's body. And, you know, like so many people go through this in their work life because their body is showing them that, hey, your work and the lifestyle that you're living is not working for you, and I'm gonna like try to signal you, and that's going to manifest in the sickness or the skin condition or the indigestion or whatever it is. And at the same time, it can work on the physical level, where if you're physically consuming certain types of foods or substances, your body will also speak to you and be like, hey, this isn't working for me. And even in my own case, like, I've gone through addiction with marijuana and other substances, and like my body would try to tell me this isn't working for you anymore, but I would resist because it's so much easier to just keep doing the same thing than to actually listen to what your body's saying. And it like lifestyle change can be really scary and hard because, you know, humans often, like, we're creatures of habit, and like it's change is scary because it means we have to like do things in new ways and with new people, and you know pick up new skills, or make a change that may make life feel a little bit less stable. So I just think it's really incredible that you're able to share kind of the marble story, because like I think that's such a good illustration, because maybe you can get away with like consuming like one marble and you'll be okay, but like if months go by and suddenly you have 20, 30 marbles in you, at some point your body's going to be like, dude, you are killing me. I'm going to show you that you're killing me with like some sort of physical manifestation, whether that's a skin condition or getting sick or whatever. And I just think it's so powerful. So for the listeners, if you are experiencing any sort of sickness in your body or disease, like it may be something that you're consuming physically, but it also may be your body's trying to tell you that you're no longer in alignment with your purpose. Um, and maybe it worked for a time, but our purpose, as Amanda has kind of alluded, like it evolves. And so like what was once part of your purpose, your body may be trying to tell you that it's time to move into the next evolution or iteration of your purpose. And so I just, I know everybody at some point in their life struggles with health issues. And so like I just want the listeners to know, if you are struggling with a health issue, your body's trying to talk to you, listen to it. And then to kind of segue into the work that you do, Amanda, like I want to know more about like how you work with people to help them cultivate and develop their purpose. Like how does somebody find their purpose?
I love this. And you're right. I do this on a daily basis with my beautiful clients in my Flourish with Purpose program. It is my main offering, the only place that I do coaching right now. And before I go into how does someone find their purpose, I know that I skipped over this part of my story because I was like, oh, I'm going to go be a doctor. And then I learned Ayurveda and now I'm a coach. So when I was going through my own self-discovery of making this pivot, I did also work with a coach. I worked with a coach, I worked with a therapist, and I was like, I know that what's going on is definitely external with eczema, IBS stuff, but it's also very internal. And I needed to sort it out with someone. And so I was working with this coach. I'd never hired a coach before, but she just was somebody who, she's like a mutual friend. Didn't really know her that well, but I knew that she seemed like a very excellent person to hold space. And, what she was sharing on her Instagram was very much like, yes, I do need help. And as we were going through our sessions, I realized she talked to me the way that I already talked to my like nutrition clients, the way that I was sitting in session with them. Because at some point, when you are given any type of diet or health or wellness plan, typically, if you just follow steps A, B, C, and D that your expert has given you, it works and you could do it. And I realized that there were so many other reasons why people weren't committing. And I was also asking the same questions that I learned during those sessions when she was coaching me. Like, I was like, oh, I'm already a coach. Like, I already do coach people, and I've already been doing this my entire life as the youngest among my siblings. I'm like very observant, listening all the time. But I pulled what I learned from them into my friend groups, into like the people that I meet at school, always kind of rising up to this kind of coach mentality, which is just asking questions, having conversation, and reflecting. But I decided that I wanted to see how else this could help and how else I could add this into becoming an Ayurvedic practitioner, because it's not just the body, it's also stuff in the mind. So I let that grow and I let myself be more excited about it. And now I have a coaching program. Again, it's called Flourish with Purpose. And my main focus is to basically take everything that I have learned in my experiences and also in my education and in my trainings to help you, if you're listening and you're interested, and help anybody else who is feeling like they resonate with this message, drop the limiting beliefs that they have about their lives, tune into who they truly are, build deep rooted confidence, reconnect to their true purpose in life so that they can actually make big decisions with ease, so that they can feel like who they are on the outside matches who they are on the inside, so that they can reclaim freedom and power as the leader and the main character in their life. I know there's a joke and like a bunch of memes going around about having main character energy, but this is the kind of main character energy where you just get to do what you wanted to do anyway, and you get to be proud of yourself. So that's the overall, message and idea of the coaching program that I have and that I've created. And it's a bunch of modalities. It's holistic health. We talk a lot about, you know, life coaching, health coaching. My background in nutrition and in Ayurveda really allowed me to set the scene for giving people homework, which is basically your self care. So when they come into my program, their quote unquote homework of the day or homework of the week is have your morning routine. It doesn't even matter what it is. I have workshops on figuring out how you can do that, and everybody's different. It could be drinking a glass of water and going to work, or it can be doing a whole 3-hour spread. But having those rituals, taking care of yourself, hydrating, eating well, facing any fears that might be coming up. And that's all set and done and in motion before we even go into the purpose stuff. Purpose is a main component of the program, but my philosophy is there is no way you can live out your purpose to the fullest in the most brightest expression if you are still not taking care of yourself, if you are still putting everybody else before you, if you are still drained every single day, if you are giving your energy away to hours of mindless scrolling or watching Netflix and TV, or sitting on the couch and not doing anything, or simply not honoring your body's rhythms. So we work a lot on really taking care of your physical body and understanding physical, mental, emotional, and the spiritual aspect comes in. And it's not religious, it's spiritual, it's believing in something else bigger than yourself, is with purpose. Because within purpose is this mission, it's this golden thread, like I said earlier, that connects everything in your life that is actually bigger than you. When I learned about what my purpose is actually, I say reconnect to your purpose a lot, because I don't think it's different. Everybody thinks differently, but my philosophy is your purpose isn't something you need to go run out into the world and find. It's actually something that's deeply embedded in the threads of who you are. And our goal is to look at ourselves and look within and actually do a lot of learning by doing unlearning. So it's just reconnecting to who you are by letting go of what you know you're not. And the reason why we don't feel good when we have these thoughts of, oh, I'm not good enough, or if I do this, I'm drawing from my own experience, if I do this, nobody's going to love me. The reason why that doesn't feel good is it actually doesn't really resonate with the frequency that you truly have, that you really have within yourself. The frequency you really have within yourself is an understanding that you are an important and vital piece of the puzzle of the world, and you leaning into your authenticity and your purpose actually creates more light for other people. So creating that mental flexibility and letting go of the rigidity of what you think you need to do is also a really big component of what my clients do with me in Flourish with Purpose. It's what I have learned as well. And for anybody who's listening to this right now, and maybe from this conversation, you're realizing, okay, do I know what my purpose is? Do I not know? The way that I understand if something feels more aligned or feels more like someone's purpose is the thing you're thinking about something that you can do everywhere? Meaning, some people think that their purpose is to, like, my purpose is to be a physician, but you can't be a physician, like work as a physician in like your marriage, in your relationship. You can't work as a physician like driving or going to the grocery store. And I know that there's loopholes around that sentence, right? But you get what I mean. We're not just one role. Your purpose is not just one career. Your purpose is not you being a mom and raising your kids. It's part of it. But when they leave the house, then what are you going to do? Are you going to rely on their existence to give you purpose? So if you feel like you know what your purpose is, but maybe you've lost it, or now you're not really sure what it is, or you feel like maybe what you're doing right now is, but you're not 100% sure, can you do it everywhere you go? I feel like I embody my purpose and the energy and the spirit of my purpose everywhere that I go, in whatever I do. And that feels right and that feels true for me. So that's a little clarification for you. And another thing to kind of focus on too is if you feel like you don't really know what your purpose is, you're feeling extremely lost and confused, you have a lot of, health stuff going on, you know that your routines aren't where they're supposed to be, you're not living the fit, rich life, then your priority is to whatever version it looks like for you. But for the sake of this podcast, your priority is to get to that fit, rich life. Your priority is to take care of your physical self. Like I said earlier, if you don't have a clear physical vessel, it's harder for your purpose to come through powerfully and unconditionally. And it's okay to know what you're here to do and you want to help other people, but you also have your own health things. And when I say health, I don't only mean physical health, I mean mental, spiritual, and emotional health as well, because that's all intertwined. If you're having a lot of that turmoil inside, it'll be a lot harder for you to help others step up and go into the next level. So your priority is always going to be you. It's very similar to, but not the exact same energy as put on your oxygen mask before you put on someone else's oxygen mask. But we can really only help others to the degree that we truly know that they deserve if we've given that to ourselves. So work on yourself, worry about yourself first, And from that comes, okay, I feel healthy. I feel good. Now what do I do? Find out what you like if you don't already know what that is for you. Go have fun, go explore, or lean into the thing that you're super excited about because that can give you clues. Your excitement is always going to give you clues, but it's hard to feel excited when you're feeling, sick or down or fatigued or just like not 100% you.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think a big part of developing your purpose is, as you've stated throughout this entire show, like following your interests, letting those interests like enliven you with an excitement, and as you pursue them, that grows.
Mm-hmm.
And I also really firmly believe that humans are designed to learn, heal, and grow together. And oftentimes I tend to attract a lot of people who want, or who are interested in coaching themselves, like as something that they want to do. And I just feel like it's I want to let anyone know that the first step to becoming a coach is getting your own coaching. Because and I've talked to dozens, if not 100 people that are like, oh, I really want to be a coach. And my first question is always like, well, have you ever had a coach? And like 90% of the time, well, not yet, but like informally I had like a sports coach. And I'm like, no, 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 have you ever paid a life coach, a fitness coach, or anything? And so I think that's one comment I want to make is, if you feel called to help other people in a coaching capacity, like, you need to go do the work on yourself first with a coach to kind of almost undergo your own apprenticeship, so that you can have your own transformation and have that experience of being coached, so that you can then coach people in the future. And then secondly, even if you never want to be a coach, the most successful people in life in all areas, business, sports, etc., they scale themselves by having a team behind themselves. So if you want to live a bigger life than you're currently living, you got to get a team behind you. And LeBron James spends $1 million extra on additional coaching outside of what he gets by playing on an NBA team. He takes money that he's paid to play in the NBA and invests it in additional coaching that's outside of what he gets, playing on the team. And it's the same thing with the most successful businessmen. Most people who are like super fit at some point, if not currently, have invested in coaches. So, you know, coaching changed my life. And my one regret is I waited till I was 31 or 32 instead of starting a lot earlier. But I feel like better late than never. And I think Amanda's a really great example, as someone who's, a bit younger than me. She's already living so much more in her purpose because she went and sought out coaches to help her move through her current struggles. And I believe everyone deserves to have someone on their team that can help them powerfully move through the challenges that come up in our life with grace.
Absolutely. Coaching, just to echo what you have said, changed my life, has brought me up to each next level. I love a good mentoring. I love a good guidance. Again, I grew up with everybody much older than me. And so I've always been surrounded by people who were always 5 steps ahead of me. And so it felt natural as I stepped into the coaching world, like I'm always going to be with somebody who's 5 steps ahead of me, who's 10 steps ahead of me, because I want to keep going further and I want to keep, furthering my mission and figuring out how I can do better. And like you said, the most successful people that I know, who some of them are my closest friends, they've been working with coaches since they started their own entrepreneurship journey, since they started their own self development journey. It's an interesting field to be in for sure. It's an interesting field to start exploring. And if you've never um, hired a coach, if you've never worked with a coach, you are doing and you're maybe interested in one, what you're doing right now, listening to this podcast, is actually part of what I would recommend, because I do the same thing. I do a lot of research. I'm like, let me just window shop all of these people. Let me see who I vibe with. Let me see who I could really feel comfortable and myself with. And that's the beauty that we have actually now within social media. I hear so many things about how Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and just like the social media platforms in general are, they're preying on your attention, or just all the negative connotations that we hear. And I have a very different experience with it because I have decided it's going to be my tool. So the internet has brought me, well, for one, the internet has brought me here today by being connected to you. And it's also brought me the most intelligent and generous people that I've ever met in business and in life and in fitness and in just expanding myself. And I'm really, really grateful for just this easy way that I can connect. So, if you've seen some coaches online and you want to see what they're about, or you're looking for a coach in specific, just find them, follow them. If you don't like them, unfollow them. If you do like them, keep seeing what they can teach you. Listen to podcasts of coaches, listen to YouTube video interviews. Just learn as much as you can until you find somebody that you really, really feel like you connect with. Because when you are in a container or in a space where you feel safe and you feel seen and you feel like you really like this person, that therapeutic, and I'm using this lightly because coaching is not therapy, but that therapeutic environment can be just as healing as a physical environment to heal. There have been a lot of studies on how like a therapeutic relationship, and again, it's not therapy, but just one in which you feel seen and heard and listened to and being like you're guided into a direction you'd like to go in, is just as effective as physical manipulations or herbs or medications or eating in a different way, because it's all connected. So coaching changed our lives, and coaching might change your life too.
Yeah. There's also something really powerful because, that this makes me think of is a lot of people I talk to are like, well, no one around me is interested in, improving their life or eating healthier or working out or becoming, more successful. And, the power of joining like a coaching program that has a group aspect to it, it puts you in direct connection to a community of people that are up to the same things in life that you are. And it's a really powerful way to basically, transform your environment, because there's physical environments where we live, but there's also the digital environments and like where we spend time. And, similar to Amanda, I think social media is like an incredibly powerful, positive tool if you choose to use it in that way. Now, the things about tools is tools are in a sense double edged. Like you can use a hammer to build a house, but you can misuse a hammer and like break your finger. And it's with social media, if you're consuming a bunch of content that is you know making you less happy, less inspired, people just complaining, blaming, shaming, like that's just gonna bring that energy into your life. But if you're following people that are inspiring and providing actionable knowledge and insight and tools, like then like it's so freaking powerful. And you can take that next step to an even more powerful level by getting into a group online that is aligned with like the next evolution or the next iteration of yourself. And all of us as humans, we go through multiple evolutions. Like to think that you are going to be the same person that you are a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now is crazy. But it's one of the human fallacies. We don't realize how much we will change in the future, even though we, as most of us look back on our life, we've many of us have changed radically and
Mm-hmm.
drastically, but we somehow think that's not going to happen in the future, but it is. And you want to actually lean into that transformation, because by leaning into that transformation, it's going to put you into alignment with your purpose, with your dharma much faster. And if you don't lean into it, your life is going to lean into you in ways where it's going to show up in disease or illness that like something's not right. And you can either fight it or you can listen to it, or even better is you can be proactive about continuously evolving to that next level by going out, getting the coaching, getting in the groups, meeting people who are doing something that you may be interested in, etc. So I'm really grateful you brought up the internet and social media, because I feel like so many people have a negative relationship with it, but I
Yeah,
feel like I have a really healthy and positive relationship with it. So yeah, so thank you for bringing that up.
you're so
And
welcome.
I'm just curious, what does like a coaching engagement with you look like? Like, how long is the engagement? Is it one-on-one? Is it group coaching? Is it something else?
So the base of my coaching is a one-on-one relationship, but to speak to having a community and being in a group of people that are going through a similar thing as you, I realized that I was holding back a really powerful element within my coaching by not integrating everything into also like a group hybrid style. So the main component of my coaching is one-on-one. I have a relationship with all my clients. It's for 6 months, and there's different tiers too, just depending on what level of support you need. Some people are really good with some touch and go. Other people want some, regular chat, WhatsApp access, and so there's options for that as well. But what that looks like is starting out with me. We go through an onboarding. I learn about you. We set some goals, and then I just have you go through. I have a whole curriculum. It's stuff that I have learned. It's tools, tips, and tricks that I have gathered that are really central to understanding who you are. Because, spoiler alert, your purpose is not a thing that you do. It's the energy that you bring when you are being yourself. Your purpose is inextricably intertwined with who you are. And so the more that you know who you are and the more that you recognize what you are not and accept the things that you are not and love the parts of you that have been hurt, that have been in fear, that have thought less of you, the more that we do that, and that's a big part of our work as well, the easier it can be for you to understand, okay, this is the next step. This is my purpose. These are the things that I'm going to do. I have clarity. I'm going to experiment here. I'm going to live my life out in this way. And on top of that, there's a group environment. You have never been in a container unless you have been in Flourish with Purpose or other types of programs like this. But if you are new to coaching, you have never been in a group of people who are going through a very similar thing as you. So you don't even need to explain why a specific exercise was difficult, because you'll have 5 women or men, whoever it is, cheering you on, saying like, I know, you got this. We did this last week. It's okay. We know it's hard. Or really just hyping you up for all the big or small wins in your life. And we have that group component. Everybody is so encouraging of each other, so willing to help each other. I work with people who, and I wanted to make this point earlier, I work with people who don't intend to be their own business owners or coaches. Like, they don't want to do that direct service experience. And that's also okay. You don't have to be somebody who steps on stages or who is a coach or who does really, in a very subjective way, big things in life in order to be living your purpose. Because the main premise is feeling good with where you are going, feeling confident with the steps that you take. So we have some coaches, some new coaches, some seasoned coaches in there. We have some elementary school teachers. We have some like lawyers. We have some people who work in like packaging facilities. Like, we have so many different people, and we are all just cheering each other on if there are new coaches and they want, support or practice coaching. Like, it's a very strong family feel, and at the same time they get that one-on-one chatting with me, coaching with me. Like, I get to know every person's story, because every person's journey into living and learning their purpose is different. Just like with fitness, right? Like, you need your own custom plan. It's not a cookie cutter program. I wish it was that easy, but it's a little bit more involved, and I'm totally okay with that. So that's what that looks like. But most of my clients end up working with me for a year and a half, just because the nature, like you said, of your purpose is that the way it looks and the things that you do to play out your purpose will always evolve and it will always change. You might think you're going down a path and you want to work on this burnout with me, and then you realize, oh, wait, actually, from my burnout recovery, I realize I don't want to keep working in corporate America. How do I take the steps to start transitioning out? Oh no, like, what do I do now that I've transitioned out? I realize I didn't really focus on the things I'm excited on. Help me do that. And so we will go through all the different phases and stages in life to really build. The biggest thing is this deep rooted confidence and trusting yourself and trusting your path and trusting your purpose.
I love that. Well, if people are interested in learning more about your coaching, I know they can go to Flourish with Purpose podcast if they want to kind of dabble a little bit and lurk before connecting with you. If they do want to connect with you online, what's the best way for them to do that?
So the best way for you to do that is if you have options, different tiers, depending on where you feel like you are. If you want to connect, but you're like not really open to working with anyone right now, you can just send me a DM, comment on my stuff. I'm always in my DMs chatting it up with people. I know a lot of coaches slash creators can get like overwhelmed, but I feel like the DMs is really where I get to connect with all of you. So you could feel free to go there. If you
Is
want to
that
be really
Instagram?
bold, on Instagram, yes, thank you. On
Amanda
Instagram.
Sevilla, full
Amanda
name?
V. Sevilla, I'm sure it will be in the show notes.
It will be.
Beautiful. So you can go there. You can say, hi, I'm from the Fit Rich Life podcast, and we can just chat from there. If you are feeling very bold and you want to maybe take it to the next level, I have a full masterclass. It's on my website, amandavsevilla.com. It will also be in the show notes. And you can watch that masterclass on purpose. If you feel like you really resonate with it, you can fill out a consult form and we can just see what would be most helpful for you. But multiple ways to connect, mostly through Instagram if you're bold, my website.
Awesome. I'll put all that in the show notes. And as we start to land this plane of this podcast, I like to ask each guest to share a tip, tool, or strategy for fitness and health, one tip, tool, or strategy for money, and one for life. So, what do you got for us, Amanda?
For all of them, right?
Yep.
Okay. Remind me the categories as I go down in case I forget. But the first one is fitness.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm a registered dietitian. I know a lot about science. I know a lot about the body. And I'm also a 500-hour trained yoga teacher in Ashtanga and Vinyasa yoga. So within fitness, what I've learned is you're probably doing more than you think. And if you know you need to do more, you don't need to do as much as what everyone else tells you. I know it's kind of cryptic, but I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think what's more important than anything is just being consistent. So if that's two
Yes.
or three times a week, every single week, that's great. You don't need to work
Hmm.
out 6, 7 days a week. You don't need to work out as much as everybody else. So I love that. So how about a tip, tool, or strategy for money?
For money is learn about your relationship with money, and that will make everything so much easier. Learn about your beliefs about money. If you find yourself hesitating when your friend wants to split the bill, if you find yourself not buying a box of cereal for funsies because it costs an extra $4, and I'm speaking on my experience, um, understand where your beliefs about money come from, your parents, society, and work with that. There's a lot of resources on it. I'm sure, there have been a lot of like book recommendations already on this podcast, but learning about and healing your relationship with money, like the energy of money, will be so helpful to accumulating more and more. It'll help you be more comfortable with having more money and also more comfortable with seeing dips here and there.
Yeah, I love that. And just to give everyone a book recommendation, there's a great book called Happy Money by Ken Honda. And it's really all about that relationship, because whether you're conscious of it or not, you have picked up potentially very bad relationship traits with your money through parents, friends, life experience. And if you don't heal that root area with your relationship with your money, it doesn't matter how much money you make, you will never be wealthy. So, really
Yes.
powerful
Yes.
one. I think that's the first time someone said to look at your relationship with your money on this podcast. So, great share. How about a tip,
Thank
tool, or
you.
strategy for life?
For life, know that it is all connected. So the categories that we're going through right now, I know that I just spoke about, understand your relationship with money, but a great life tip slash tool is, where else does this relationship show up? There are a lot of parallels. If you feel this way about money, how do you feel about friends? How do you feel about your partner? How do you feel about your parents? How do you feel about happiness, joy, pleasure, fun? It's very, very connected. So within life, if you feel like you're reaching a resistance, or if you feel like you've noticed, oh, like I'm acting kind of weird around this subject, try to see where else you are kind of imitating that or doing it in other places of your life, because the way you do one thing is the way you do most things, if not everything.
Yeah. I think that one is so powerful. And that's the cool thing about, working on these things, is as you kind of heal and evolve in one area that you have a challenge in, it will ripple out through all these other areas in your life. And it's so powerful. So, Amanda, I deeply appreciate you coming on the show, sharing your brilliance with us, your transformative energy, helping us all find more purpose in our life. Any last words of wisdom or requests from the audience that you'd like to say before we close this down?
Yes, I do. And before I say that, I just want to say thank you so much, Dragon, for having me on and for letting me share my story and share what I've learned so far. And I'm very excited for all the collaborations to come and for everybody who's listened to this. I'm very excited for you all to start and continue your journey. And the last thing that I want to share is, do what you know you won't regret, whether that's being more consistent, calling someone, showing up for that thing. When you're in a decision, choose what you deep inside wouldn't regret.
I love that. Amanda, thank you so much
Beautiful.
for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.